Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our practice session. My topic today will be homeschooling. Homeschooling, as it is known in North America, or home education, it is more commonly referred to in Europe, is educating school-age children at home by their parents or guardians. Typically, homeschooling families use less formal or more personalized and individualized methods of learning. These methods are not always available through public education system, but their approaches may vary highly. They can vary between very structured approaches based on traditional school lessons, all the way to open free forms without any lesson plans or curricula. Before compulsory school attendance laws were introduced, most children were educated at home. They were educated by their family members, maybe invited or hired tutors, or local communities. By the early 19th century, attending a school became the most common means of education in the developed world. However, towards the end of the 20th century, people began to question the efficiency of the school system. And that's when homeschooling reemerged. In North America and in some European countries and in some commonwealth countries, this is now a fairly common alternative to public and private schools. By contrast, in some other countries, homeschooling is illegal. For example, in Guatemala, in Iran, in Azerbaijan, or North Korea. I was also surprised to learn that it is illegal in such countries as Greenland, South Korea, Germany, Hungary, among others. In Canada, where I live, parents may choose to homeschool their children. The Homeschool Legal Defense Association of Canada, or as it is known, HSLDA Canada, is a national organization that, according to its website, empowers, protects, and encourages homeschooling families across Canada. So how does it work? Parents must notify a school board or an accredited school operator of their intention to homeschool their children. And from that point onwards, parents have the primary responsibility to plan, to manage, and to supervise their children's studies. And they're also responsible for evaluating their progress. Each province or territory has their own educational laws and regulations that govern the process of homeschooling, such as supervision by the local school authorities, mandatory testing, or compliance with the public school curriculum, which is set by the home education regulation. There is a little snag, though. In many places, homeschool children are not eligible to receive a provincial high school diploma. This is, of course, a problem if the child wants to go on to study at the university. And so many parents choose to homeschool their children until grade 9 and then send them to a regular school. In Canada, I must say, homeschooling remains the least common type of schooling. According to Statistics Canada, in 2019, only 4,608 elementary and secondary students were homeschooled. In 2020, due to the pandemic, this number more than doubled to 83,784. And yet it still represented only 1.5% of all school-age children, compared to 91.1% of those who attend public schools and 7.5% who go to private schools. So why do parents decide to homeschool their children? There are a number of factors. One set of factors or concerns are academic in nature. Some parents became dissatisfied with the public school system, They're unhappy with the quality of academic instruction and low standards. There is shortage of qualified teachers and other staff. And so as a result, they feel that their child does not receive enough individual attention. Overall, parents may feel that a public or even a private school is unable to meet their children's individual needs. There are also religious families who may feel that the secular nature of public schools clashes with the upbringing that their children receive at home. And so they may choose to homeschool their children as well. Another set of considerations involves the school environment and safety. At school, students may encounter physical and emotional violence, bullying, racism, exclusion. Children may be exposed to drugs and alcohol. They have to cope with performance stress, peer pressure, or be influenced by negative role models. Another motivating factor is that parents may want to be more involved with their child's learning and development, and to have more control over what and how their child is taught. They would like to be able to tailor the learning plan to their child's aptitude, to his or her individual abilities and interests, and to be able to provide instruction from a specific moral position. Parents may also would like to take advantage of this one-to-one instruction style. They want to give their child an opportunity to spend more time on childhood activities, to develop their social skills, and not only focus on academic learning. Sometimes there is a particular lifestyle that fits better with homeschool learning. For example, families who live in isolated rural communities, or families who travel a lot, they may choose to homeschool their children. Or sometimes parents need to accommodate their child's other priorities in life. For example, young athletes or musicians are homeschooled so that they have enough time and flexibility to train or practice. So, are there any benefits to homeschooling? As it turns out, there are benefits. There are social benefits, there are academic benefits, and there are also financial benefits to society or the country where parents and their families live. So, social skills. Studies show that homeschool children tend to have more developed positive social skills than their peers who go to school. They learn their social skills from their parents rather than from peers, so they're learning from adult role models. They go through more positive and broader socialization experiences with children of various ages as well as adults. Homeschool children interact with other children in smaller and more supervised groups compared to their peers who go to conventional school. So they don't experience too much peer pressure or physical or psychological bullying. As a result, homeschool children tend to not to develop dysfunctional bully survival strategies, nor do they become bullies themselves. They also don't show unhealthy, excessive peer orientation, which is very concerning these days. Peer orientation means that children tend to look up to their peers and turn to their peers for answers rather than their parents. Dr. Gordon Neufeld, a psychologist from Vancouver, says that peer orientation undermines the natural authority of parents, which in turn hinders the child's natural psychological development. When children are homeschooled, they naturally see their parents as authority figures. And so they form a more natural and balanced relationship with their parents, which is in turn beneficial for their psychological development. Overall, homeschool children tend to develop stronger ties with other family members as well. As family members spend time together, so there would be parents, grandparents, cousins, siblings, they would share their life, they would learn and play and work together, and so they would develop closer ties with each other and build a secure emotional base. And then children can build on this base as they grow older and become more independent. According to a review of peer-reviewed homeschool research that was published in 2017 in the Journal of School Choice, 87% of peer-reviewed studies found that homeschool children score statistically significantly better in terms of their social, emotional, and psychological development when compared to children who attend conventional schools. Finally, it turns out that there are academic benefits as well. Homeschooling affords academic flexibility. Each child receives individual attention, and each course of study is designed for their own abilities and readiness to progress. Each child learns at their own pace. There is no need to push a child through to a certain level by a certain date. And so homeschool children are never left behind if they're having difficulties with a particular topic, which is especially relevant for children who have special educational needs. And at the same time, the child is not held back if he or she is ready to move on to the next topic. The same review that I've mentioned earlier has shown that homeschool children typically score 15 to 25 percentile points above public school students on standardized tests. 78% of studies found that homeschool children perform statistically better than their peers in conventional schools. This research has also shown that homeschool children typically score above average on the SAT and ACT tests. And there is also a financial benefit to the state. Families that choose to homeschool their children do not rely so much on public tax-funded resources when it comes to their child education. For example, in 2021-2022, American taxpayers saved over $50 billion thanks to over 3 million homeschooled children. And at the same time, homeschool families spend an average of $600 per student annually. Now, it seems that homeschooling is a really great alternative to traditional conventional schools that tend to benefit the families, the children, and society overall. However, there are also those who are concerned about the homeschooling phenomenon. For example, Dr. Elizabeth Bartholet, a law professor from Harvard, goes as far as claiming that homeschooling poses a threat to children and society. In 2019, she published an article where she argues that many parents homeschool their children because they want to isolate them from ideas and values of the American democracy, because they want to keep them from exposure to views that might enable autonomous choice about their future lives. Many families, according to her, advocate for racial segregation and female subservience. Many question science. Homeschooling is also a way for abusive parents to avoid being caught. If the child doesn't go to school, she or he does not interact with teachers, nurses, or other staff, other adults outside of their household. And so there is no one to report abusive parents to child protection services. To refer to homeschooling and those who support it, the article uses such language as threat, aggressive advocacy, and homeschooling regime, and recommends a presumptive ban on homeschooling. Now, I'm not an expert on the subject of homeschooling. I'm not a child psychologist, and I don't work in the public school system. But as a linguist, I feel that this choice of words suggests that the author might have a personal bone to pick with those who prefer to homeschool their kids. For example, the author claims that the majority of homeschooling parents are descendants of the original conservative wing who reject mainstream democratic values and culture. But if we go back to the same review that I mentioned earlier, it reports that homeschooling population is very diverse. It includes atheists and Christians, conservatives, libertarians, and liberals, low, middle, and high-income families, African Americans, white and Hispanic families, parents with PhDs, and those who don't even have a high school diploma. One study shows that in the US, 41% of homeschool children come from African American, Asian, Hispanic, or other background. Moreover, if you consider the overall number of children in the US who are being homeschooled, this phenomenon hardly may be described as a threat. Even though these numbers are much higher than in Canada, they're still pretty modest. In 2023, around 4 million children between the ages of 6 and 17 were being homeschooled, which is less than 8% of all children in that age group in the United States. That said, I believe that Professor Bartholet does raise a valid concern. Homeschooling families are largely unsupervised, and there is no clear regulated connection between homeschooling and the public education system. And this, of course, does create a potential for abuse. And perhaps it would make sense to develop some kind of checks and balances mechanism to ensure that homeschool children have access to the same protection measures as children in conventional schools do. But given the proven academic and social benefits of homeschooling, I think banging it all together would be throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Thank you.